All right. In this video, I want to talk more about the number 27 and its importance to the occult. And most people are aware of the 27 Club, and a lot of people write it off as a coincidence. And it's a result of their fast lifestyles. The reason why all these musicians die. And in the mainstream mind's eye, it's just a coincidence that they all happen to die by the number 27. But it's not just 27 that they're all dying by this repetitive number. And I just want to start off by talking about Weird Al Yankovic, the bizarre death of his parents, and his obsession with the number 27. And there's a whole website dedicated to it. And I'll link my blog and the website, but on this blog post, there's a link to it. And I think most people will be blown away because of how many times Weird Al Yankovic pays tribute to the number 27. And he is obviously very intelligent to be able to use that number in so many creative ways. Anyway, I found it interesting that the author states that he doesn't want to use the reflection of 72 or 207. And but I am going to use those because they are as equally as important as the sequence of 2 and 7 in that order. Just as much as the reflection is important, and then with the 0 added to it. So, pretty mind-boggling. And this is all Weird Al. It's not just like, a group of people that like the number 27. It's just him. And, it also goes to show because he needs other numerologists to go along with all of this. It's just not him. But, so here's just one example. How can we summarize Weird Al? 2 words, 7 letters. That's just one example. And look at the value of Weird Al. 72, the reflection of 27. And I want, I'll get into the death of his parents. I made one video, but I want to go back into it. It's an older video. It's not that great. I'm going to rehash the bizarre death of his parents. Then I'll get more. I want to touch a little bit more on the 27 Club. And another lesser known member of the 27 Club, who's not a musician, but Laci Peterson. And I'll show you how she died by this same exact code that Basquiat, Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones, Jim Morrison all died by. And the only thing that they don't have in common is the fact that Laci was not She's famous, not in a good way. But I'll get into that. And so getting into the bizarre death of Weird Al Yankovic's parents, who were said to have died from carbon monoxide poisoning 197 days before his 45th birthday. So that would have made him 44 at the time. And hold on, I may be getting ahead of myself. So, his father, Nick Yankovic, dead at 86, and his mother, Mary, who has the February 7th birthday, the 2/7 birthday, she's dead at 81. And this all takes place on, Weird Al Yankovic is at the age of 44. And fitting because Yankovic equals 44. And, there's a double meaning behind it because of the prime number relationship with them dying 197 days before his upcoming 45th birthday. And keep in mind that would make him, he's in his 45th year. He's 44, but he's in his 45th year. And ritual equals 25. But more importantly, it equals 27, his number. So, but it's all kind of one and the same. It's like a little riddle. 44, 45. Ritual 27, how they're all kind of interconnected in this way. And look at how that ties in perfectly with the age his father died at 86. So Weird Al has this value of 117 and 45. Just like when you write out 45 as a word, it has this matching value, you see? And also when you write out 44, it also equals 45. This was, shout out to Zach, this was one of the first gematria lessons. It was when you write out 44 and how it has this weird spelling. And this is by design, because why wouldn't you just spell it out with the U? Just like how you spell 4. But that's significant because when you write out 44 as a word, it equals 144. Was it shooting? Oh, well, shooting equals 44. And kill equals 44. And the 144 is significant to that number because when you write it out, it has a value of 144. Not to mention it has, the value of 100 plus 44. So Weird Al Yankovic, no doubt, worships numbers. And but yeah, you see. So they died on April 9th, and then to his upcoming 45th, 197 days. But just look at, they say their cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning caused from them not closing the flue to their fireplace. So they lit a fire, they had the flue closed, they sat back, and what would happen is, you know, your house would basically fill with smoke if you were to do that. If you were to light a fire, and I don't know if anyone out there has a fireplace. Not a whole lot of people do unless you live out in the country or in the mountains. But I want you to ask yourself, would you allow that to, would you just sit there, allow the house to fill with smoke and not do anything, and then just, you know, allow your demise to happen? But the reason why they chose to say that they died from carbon monoxide poisoning is because it has the value of 270, which is not unlike the number 27. But look at how that also ties back into the age of Nick Yankovic's death, the father, who died at 86. And when you write out 86 as a word, it has the matching value of 126 and 117. Just like Weird Al equals 117. You see how perfectly? And think about how easy it would be to murder someone and then make it look like, I mean, they very well could have died from poisoning. It just wasn't carbon monoxide poisoning that killed them. And look at poisoning equals 44. Just like Yankovic equals 44. And this happens when he's at the age of 44 years old. And something that I just realized, and this is another fitting example of how perfectly these rituals are scripted out, but you see how poisoning equals 125? Well, when you write out 27 as a word, it equals 125. And Brian Jones died 125 days from his 27th birthday, from his 228 birthday. Death equals 228. So isn't that crazy? You see how perfectly he scripts it all out. You see, 27, 125. And here they are, dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. The parents of the gentleman who's obsessed with the number 27. I mean, come on, it couldn't be any more obvious than that. But you see, the 117, Weird Al equals 117, 86, 117. Look at their place of death, Fallbrook, California, 117. So, very fitting. But look at the significance behind April 9th. It's the 100th day of the year. And Yankovic has a value of 100. And what else I believe has value of 100? There, Faustian bargain equals 100. And Mary, the mother, died 62 days from her 81st birthday. And I've been asking the question, is this some kind of bargain that well-known artists have to make in order to be at the top of their field? Weird Al, he's one of undoubtedly the most successful parody musicians, and he's mainstream. He's very well-known, famous. He's probably pretty wealthy. But what are the odds of that? And moving on, weird, his full name, Alfred Matthew Yankovic, has this value of 115. And the significance of all that could be Saturn. And Saturn in Jewish equals 511, the reflection of 115. And something that I'm just discovering, and I think a lot of the root motivation for these rituals is this deity that's known to be symbolic of darkness and death. The Romans referred to Saturn as Cronus, and Cronus in the most pure cipher equals 27, just like ritual. So this is another name for Saturn. And you see it also equals 72, the reflection. So it really makes me wonder. And what's crazy is Mary Elizabeth Yankovic has matching value of 115. And further tying into Saturn, Elizabeth equals 47, and Saturn is known as the timekeeper, and time equals 47. Not to mention Saturn and Mary both equal 21 in the most pure cipher. So very perfectly scripted out ritual. And you'll see right here from her 2/7 birthday. I mean, come on. To her date of death, April 9th, was 62 days. And sacrifice equals 62. Faustian bargain equals 62. Let's see here. And there's this crazy, I mean, it's so perfectly scripted. And you see how she's dead at 81? I think in English, ritual equals 81. Forwards and backwards. But look at the dad. He's got the blood sacrifice numbers. Nicholas Louis Yankovic. 257, just like blood sacrifice. And he's dead at the age of 86. And of course, blood sacrifice and human sacrifice equal 86. But look at the span of days from his 86th birthday to his date of death was 310 days, tying in with his full name, Nicholas Louis Yankovic. 310. And not to mention the 121, just like blood sacrifice, 121. So pretty crazy. And you'll see here, there was this hoax played by the media where they say that they try to attempt to reach his management agency, William Morris, and they say they were unsuccessful, but you see his age 44. Yankovic equals 44. And they say it was the flu, which is basically the valve that you open to allow smoke to flow out of your house from the fireplace. You see how perfectly that ties in with Kill. Remember, he's at the age of 44. This is the key object in their death right here. And uncoincidentally, because of this secret code behind the word. And just look at Kill. Is it a perfect match? Yeah. Oh, besides the reverse. The reverse pure. 44, 17, and 64. And think about how you see the value of 64. I think Sacrifice has 64. No. But Kill, has his value of 64. And the dad's birthday is June 4th. 6/4. Or 4/6, and Sacrifice equals 46. So that's what it was. You see? But look at the hidden meaning behind William Morris Agency. And both having this 100 and 116 value, which ties in with the Yankovic, which also has 100 and 116. But, Weird Al would later go on to say, which I'll show you in a sec, he would go on to say he has no affiliation with the William Morris Agency. And it doesn't make sense why that would occur unless you know gematria. And this is why they are making up that fake news story. You see? And I think it was the LA Times. It's from a LA Times article, and they are obviously practicing this. I don't want to call it art because that would give it some kind of special significance. Well, in their mind, it is special, and numbers are special, but I lost my train of thought on that one. But you see, the house was full of smoke when they opened the door. We examined the fireplace. They were burning wood. The relatives had found the flue closed, and they opened it. So Nick and Mary just sat there and allowed the house to fill with smoke. And he was found in the chair. She was found in the bathroom, and they didn't do anything about it. If you realize the flue is closed and you start to see smoke pour out, you're going to fucking open the flue. So, and the whole thing, thinking about it now, it really just irritates me that people can get away with such ridiculous concepts. And, Weird Al Yankovic goes on living life and everything's all good. And they expect the public to completely buy such stupid bullshit stories. And it's just a ridiculous concept. And no one questions it. I don't know anyone who's, maybe there's people out there that have questioned this story, but I haven't seen any of them. And I'm wondering if I'm the first person to ever bring up the question, is there more to their death than meets the eye? And there 100% is. And you don't even need gematria to see that. You just hear the story and it sounds suspicious. So and another big aspect of the story is that, Weird Al was about to perform a concert and he got news. This is how full of himself he is. He got news that his parents had passed away, and that same night he was supposed to perform in Appleton, Wisconsin. And cool on stage, put it in big file, %. I'll just read what he wrote. So it wound up being a good thing for me to continue working through it, Yankovic told Wired, because if I didn't have anything to distract me, I probably would have spiraled into an even deeper depression. For a couple of hours each night, I would go on stage, put on a big fake smile, and pretend like everything was okay. Out of respect for his parents, if that happened to me, I would, maybe take a few nights, maybe not cancel the whole tour, but cancel the show out of respect for my parents and mourn it's completely normal to mourn. And you're not like depressed because you're mourning, but you have to go through the mourning process, of losing someone very close to you. There's nothing wrong with that. And he acts like, oh, the best thing is, just pretend it doesn't happen and I'll just perform music and it'll make me feel better so I don't have to be sad about the death of my parents. You see how bullshit that is? But the reason why he was in Appleton the day of their death is because look at the coordinates of it. On the 44th parallel north. And I think I'm saying that right. This would be the meridian. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but he was on the 44th parallel north, Appleton. And look at the value of Wisconsin, 44. And that was another thing. I didn't know about the 125. When you write out 27, you see, again, poisoning equals 125. Just like Brian Jones died 125 days from his 27th birthday. 27 equals 125. And this just fits in. I thought, the 44, the 118, and the 55, I thought that, tied in perfectly. But, Wisconsin couldn't have been a more perfect place, especially when you take into consideration the fact that he worships the number 27. And 27 has this hidden value of 125. So Wisconsin, you see how perfectly. And I also thought that this was interesting, and it's just a theory. And, but, magic, the way it's spelt to the occult, ceremonial magic. Ceremonial magic is not spelt with a C. Performance magic is spelt with a C. But what the occult practices is magic with a K. And I thought it was interesting that it had this same value of 44 and 118, just like Wisconsin. And magic as a word, and also occult magic. And this could all be a coincidence, and it's just a theory I'm exploring. I'm not saying this is how it is. But it's interesting to speculate on. Shit. It's crazy, right? I mean, I found it crazy. And he's in this video. His parents are in this video. I'll just try to be quick about that because I want to talk about more about the 27 Club. But his parents are in this music video for I Lost on Jeopardy. And in the scene after the parents are featured, right here, the next scene cuts to Weird Al being engulfed in smoke and he's all panicked. So, I mean, what are the odds that his parents are featured in this music video and then, and they say they died from carbon monoxide poisoning caused from a fireplace because they're burning wood because the flue wasn't open, so their house filled with smoke. And then here you get Weird Al engulfed in smoke, all panicked. But I think there is a hidden message here. And it's a part of, it goes to show how sick these people are, but right at the negative 44, his point, his score reaches negative 44. This sign that says Jeopardy, it's the moment where his face gets completely covered, right? And 44 being such a significant number in the death of his parents. But look at Jeopardy, 94. His parents died on April 9th, 9/4 or 4/9. And dead, I don't know if this is significant, but it's interesting to note dead equals 94. The name of the album, Weird Al Yankovic in 3D equals 94. But April 9th was a Jesus holiday, Good Friday, a day that the church commemorates the crucifixion of the so-called Son of God. But look at Good Friday, reverse full reduction of 49. Just like April 9th. And tying into his dad's dated death, human sacrifice and blood sacrifice, how they all are special to the number 86. And when you write out 49 and 86, they're a perfect match. So perfect day to die at the age of 86 on 4/9. And Weird Al equals 117 and 45. Further, what happens next is this flag pops up. I couldn't get it comes up right close to the negative 49. And look at the values of forget it. Almost a perfect match with the Yankovic. You see? How further proof what a perfect number ritual. Yankovic, I mean, this was in the works for a couple of decades. And you see here this little graphic, and I think this goes back to the Straight Outta Linwood album. But you see the 27, Yeah. So you see 27 as a word, tying in with sacrifice. But look at I Lost on Jeopardy, the name of the song that the parents are featured on, and then I mean it's such an obvious riddle. The mom's dead at 81, and yeah, this is just another way to represent these symbols. 27. Weird Al equals 72. Carbon monoxide poisoning, 270. And look at smoke, which the house would have filled with smoke. And I believe when it comes to a fireplace, the carbon monoxide is a byproduct of the smoke. And to me, I think you would die of smoke inhalation first before the carbon monoxide poisoning would get to you. I don't know. I could be wrong. But it seems like you would smoke inhalation. It would have either, if I was an investigator, I would be like, okay, well, it's either smoke inhalation or carbon monoxide poisoning or a combination of the two. But smoke is significant because of this, you see? But you gotta see the release of the song and how it further ties in the release of the single for I Lost on Jeopardy. So that the single came out on the father's 67th birthday. Human and blood sacrifice both equal 67. And 67 is the 19th prime number. 19 years later, from the release of I Lost on Jeopardy and Nick Yankovic's 67th birthday, 19 years and 310 days. Nicholas Louis Yankovic, 310. And the date of his 67th birthday and the release of I Lost on Jeopardy as a single has numerology of 94. Remember, Dead, Jeopardy, Weird Al Yankovic all equal 94. The reflection of 49, their date of death, 4/9. And they died on Good Friday, 49. You see what? I mean, I'm blown away. I'm personally blown away. So, and apologies to, I'm sure, probably Zach. I have no idea. I haven't read any of his research on these stories, nor have I ever seen a presentation. I'm sure he's reported on it, but I was wondering about this 104 thing going on. And zodiac equals 104. And that has to be significant because of how special the zodiac is to our existence. And, all ancient cultures, civilizations, they're all tied in with the zodiac. The stars, the planets. But, you see how rock and roll equals 104, and Jimi Hendrix died on the day that leaves 104 days left in the year. And I'm going to tie this all back into Laci Peterson, who has these numbers encoded to her story as well. And she died at the age of 27. She's not a musician, but the ritual is the same, you guys. And I'll prove that unequivocally. But so 104, and it repeats itself throughout the death of these four well-known musicians that happened in the span of, from 69 when Brian Jones died up until the death of Jim Morrison. But Brian Jones was found in his swimming pool, at the bottom of the swimming pool, and he was ruled a drowning. Drowning equals 104. But look at his full name. Lewis Brian Hopkins Jones equals 104. And Janis Joplin, guess what date that she died on? She died on 10/4. And how Laci Peterson ties into these kind of rituals perfectly, allow me to show you. But like I was saying, Cronus, which is another name that the Romans, Saturn, it's the same thing. Cronus and Saturn are the same thing. And they say all roads lead to Rome. And what are the odds that, Cronus has this 27 value in the most pure cipher, just like ritual equals 27. And you get all these well-known deaths, and they all pass away at the age of 27. But moving on to Laci Peterson, and this all can be linked back to Saturn worship. All these, Brian Jones was born in 42 and he died in 69. Let me just bring up. You see, Saturn equals 42 and 69. But, Laci, here she is dead at the age of 27, and then her unborn son that was murdered, the Son of God, Jesus, she disappears on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve equals 74. Jesus equals 74. But Connor, you see how perfect of a name it is for a Saturn ritual? Connor equals 69. Not to mention 93. And from Scott's 30th birthday to Christmas Eve was 61 days. And I know that ties in with, is it astrology? No. Well, as you may know, Jesus equals 61. And I know this ties in more with the zodiac and astrology and the planets. Is it planet? I don't remember. But anyway, you see, she disappears 61 days after Scott's October 24th, 30th birthday. And keep in mind, Scott is born in 1972. But you see how perfectly that is? And what is Connor Peterson? I know there was something there. Well, I was just talking about 197, the 45th prime number. Ritual equals 45. Sacrifice equals 73. So I don't want to get too far off the numbers that relate to Saturn, but another key figure in the story of Laci Peterson is the mistress, Amber Frey. And she was not random at all. And I'll elaborate on that. Perfect for a Saturn ritual. Amber Frey equals 93. Just like Connor equals 93. Saturn equals 93. But look at Laci's full name with Peterson. Laci Denise Peterson, 104. You see how it ties in with all these other 27 deaths? Like how he's dead on the 104th, on the day that leaves 104 days left in the year. Rock and roll equals 104. Zodiac equals 104. Drowning in the cause of death for Brian Jones and his full name equals 104. So it's just another example of history repeating itself. And the names are different, but the ritual is the same. And you see the 103 and 103, and that's only one number off from 104. Keep that in mind. And I forget what it was there's some rule in gematria where if a number is off by just one, it still has the same power. So 103 and 104, both very similar. They're only just one number off. But 103 is special because it's the 27th prime number. And what's so special about that? How does that tie in with Laci Peterson? Well, that's a very good question, because her birth date, 5/4, born in 75, she's got birth numerology of 103. And not to mention, she's got the 5/4 birthday. Sun equals 54. Frey, the mistress, equals 54. And what's also crazy is Amber Frey she's born in 75. So she was 27 years old, just like Laci. And you see the 18. Scott was arrested on the 18th month of April. And, April is special to the sun because it kind of represents the month where things start to, become reborn. So Frey was not a random person. She was 100% scripted. And get this from her 20. So Laci and her are both born 83 days apart. So she's born, I think it's and murder equals 83. So what are the odds that, one of the star witnesses in the case, and keep in mind that they convicted Scott on purely circumstantial evidence. There was no physical evidence that they presented. You see, 83 days. What a perfect script the whole thing was. And I want to show you how else that ties in perfectly with Saturn, because black is the color of Saturn. And Saturn represents darkness. But look at Scott's birth numerology. 10 plus 24 plus 72, 106. Just like Amber Frey's birth numerology, except when you add the 19, 2 plus 10 plus 19 plus 75 equals 106. And I know that's got to be special because black equals 106. You see? So it is true what they say, all roads lead to Rome. And Saturn, one of the most important deities all throughout human history. One of the most important deities to Roman society. And they have a whole festival dedicated to him. Keep in mind, Saturn is masculine. And, remember I was talking about Elizabeth Short in my previous video about the destruction of the divine feminine. And here's another good example of how Laci was destroyed in this very Saturn type of way around the time of the winter solstice and around the time of Saturnalia. Was there more? Oh yeah, I forgot. But 104, very important number to, I'm discovering, to 27 rituals. And that could be because it's only one number off from 103, the 27th prime number, but also zodiac equals 104. And special to the deaths in the rock and roll world because rock and roll equals 104. So perfect. Couldn't have scripted it any better. All right, I'll leave it there. I don't want to make this one too long. All right, peace.